Okay, friends, let's start thinking about one more parameter so far as properties of fluid or liquid is concerned, and that is buoyancy. Okay, you spell it as Buoyancy. The other name for it is upthrust. So let's try to develop the concept of buoyancy first of all. Let's see what it is. So if you experience pressing a bottle in water like this as shown in your screen, you would experience that there is always an upward force, especially for all those who take a dive in swimming pool. You'll realize there is always an upward force which is acting on the object which is immersed in the liquid or fluid or water in general, and that upward force you can see, or this upthrust, which will make the bottle move up. You can see upward force exerted by the fluid will make the bottle move up to the surface. We call such force, such upward force will be called as buoyant force. Now this buoyant force, if you need to think, more down you move, more upwards the buoyant force will act. It's like you can see how the correlation is. Okay. Here is another example where you are trying to immerse a balloon in water, and when you release the pressure given by the hand, you'll realize that this balloon comes out. Now, why it comes out? Because of the upward force exerted by water. Okay, this is another example citing the same thing. So, what's buoyancy then? Let's understand what's buoyancy. So, it's a tendency of a liquid to apply an upward force on the object. We call it as buoyant force, or the other name for it, as I suggested earlier, was upthrust. Okay. So this is how you define buoyancy. You can take a note of it quickly before we move ahead, because then subsequently, we will keep on dealing with this stuff in more details. So hopefully you have taken a note of this, the definition for buoyancy. So we all know, what is buoyancy then as per our understanding now. Means the simple definition for buoyancy would be it's a tendency of a liquid to apply an upward force on the object called as buoyant force or upthrust. So hopefully you have noted this down. Let's move ahead. Here is some experimentation to understand buoyancy. Say for example, in figure number 1, you can see in figure number 1, you are connecting a weight to a measurement system over here. So say for example, it was 180 grams. The cube was being weighed 180 grams. Now in the second diagram, you can see you are partially immersing the cube in water. When you are partially immersing the cube in water, friends, you can see the weight has reduced from 180 grams to 170 grams. More you dip it, or more you immerse, or more is the volume immersed in the liquid or water, you'll find the reduction of the weight is more. So now 170 gram has reduced to 150 gram in figure number 3. Now what happens in figure number 4, you can see, the entire thing you have immersed basically. The entire cube is immersed, and ultimately you can see the weight has reduced to 140 grams. So there can be some inferences drawn from this experimentation, and these inferences will lead us to Archimedes' principle, which explains us about buoyant force or upthrust. So here what you can say is, more volume is immersed in water, more reduction in weight will take place. So more the volume immersed in liquid, more reduction in weight takes place. Here you can see it was partially immersed, so from 180 grams, the weight reduced to 170. Then subsequently what you did in the third diagram, you immersed more volume of the solid in the liquid. So ultimately the weight reduced further, and that value comes out to be 150 grams. There onwards, you immerse it completely in figure number 4. So again it reduces further. So what I mean to say is, more you immerse, more is the volume immersed in the liquid or water, more reduction in weight takes place. Now, why that reduction in weight will take place? Obviously, the value of the buoyant force will keep on increasing. More the value of buoyant force, more volume immersed, more the value of buoyant force, upward force, more reduction in the weight. Weight is something which is acting vertically downwards. Buoyant force is something which is, opposing that weight which is acting vertically downwards. So that opposition, the magnitude of opposition also changes, and it depends upon what amount of volume is actually immersed in the liquid. If you all observe this experimentation, please make a note of this experimentation, and then we will draw some conclusions out of it. Okay, or we can extend the experimentation and come up with some conclusions. Before we do that, I expect you to note it down in form of a screenshot or something. It will act as notes for you. So hopefully done. Let's move ahead. So here are the observations based on the experimentation which was conducted. So the same experiment which I was talking about, a cube being immersed and being weighed, weighing balance. So as you immerse it completely, the extent of buoyant force will also increase. So comes the first observation. When more and more volume of the object is immersed in water, then its weight is continuously decreasing. Maximum change in the weight will be attained when full volume of the object is submerged. And the third interesting observation is the weight reduction takes place due to the upward force provided by the liquid called as buoyant force. That means this, in a way, this buoyant force will depend upon, it's not a fixed quantity, it will depend upon, it has to reach its maximum level. So prior to it reaches its maximum level, it will vary between 0 to the maximum level. Now how it varies, it depends upon, what volume of the object is immersed inside the liquid. More the volume immersed, more will be buoyant force. Okay. Hopefully you understood this. So please make a note of this before we move ahead. Okay, I believe things are pretty clear till here. So let's move ahead then. Based on this, you come to a conclusion. So that conclusion, as I said earlier, is more the volume of metal block submerged in water, more is the buoyant force applied on it. So take a note of this quickly before we move ahead towards the next slide. Okay, hopefully done. So let's talk about the factors on which buoyant
Sir,
force.
can you please show the previous slide?
Yeah, definitely. Let me know if you're done with it so that we move ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So let's talk about the factors on which this buoyant force will depend. So buoyant force depends on the volume of the object which is immersed. More the volume immersed, more is the buoyant force. Take a note of it quickly. This is one thing which we need to think over. Hopefully things are pretty clear till here. Then the second factor on which buoyant force depends is, the density of liquid. That means in general, more the density, more is the buoyant force. Vice versa. Less the density of the liquid, less will be the buoyant force. So in fresh water, you would come across less buoyant force. Whereas in salty water, the buoyant force would be more. So the chances of survival in salt water is more. I mean, sea water, you can say. Okay. Hopefully, I've noted this down. This is the second factor on which buoyant force depends. You can just have an idea about, how the buoyant force would be acting. Based on this, we, come across Archimedes' principle. Now, what he says is, whenever any object is partially or fully immersed in a liquid, then in that condition, he says, the buoyant force provided by the liquid on the object is equal to the weight of the liquid displaced by the body. That means if I need to calculate the buoyant force, what I have to do, I have to immerse the object in the liquid, and because of that immersion, I'll have to collect the liquid displaced by that object, and then I'll have to weigh that liquid. And when I weigh that liquid, whatever weight comes out of the for the liquid displaced, that will give me the buoyant force. It's an indirect way of calculating buoyant force acting on any object. So very important principle, and this is the principle which we are going to time and again use while solving problems so far as buoyancy and upthrust are concerned. At times the problem will be mix of surface tension, buoyancy, pressure, and so many things, viscosity also. So these things are to be studied together in a way. You need to conglomerate all these things while moving towards solving problems on entrance level basically. Hopefully you have noted this down. Let's move ahead. Let's discuss this.
Sir,
Yes.
2 minutes, sir. 2 minutes, sir.
Okay.
sir, can you show the previous slide for a minute?
Yeah, why not? This one.
Yes.
Okay, so this was the slide telling you about the dependency of buoyant force on density of the liquid.
Thank you,
Should we-
sir.
Yeah. So you please make a note of this also, Archimedes principle, quickly. Okay. So you get well versed in noting it down so that get well versed in taking the screenshots, quick screenshots. Hopefully done. So let's move ahead now. Yeah, so Archimedes, Eureka. This is the famous word which we come across. So buoyant force is all about Eureka here. Okay, now let's have some logical questions to be answered. Now here is a balsa wood block seen and a pin, metal pin. Now thing is, will both of them float or will both of them sink? So the answer is one stays afloat and one sinks. Now what's the reason behind it? What are the reasons? So let's start depicting reasons for it. So quickly take a note of this. We move ahead towards the reasoning. So hopefully you have taken the note of this. Okay, let's move ahead. You can see, when would the object float? Let's understand this. So there would be always two forces acting on any object. One would be the downward force, that's the weight of the object. And there would be another force which is the upward force. So if the upward force is more than the downward force, that means the buoyant force is more than the weight of the object, then that object will float. Vice versa, if the weight of the object is more than the buoyant force of the upthrust, then the object has to sink. That's the basic logic. Okay, so take down a note of this. We move ahead towards the next one. Yeah, so based on this logic, we need to answer the previous question. Yeah, here you can see the second slide. Force is more, the downward force is more. So therefore, the object is sinking. Here, comparatively, buoyant force is less. I'm not saying buoyant force is not acting, but the force which was acting was comparatively less as compared to the weight of the body, which resulted in sinking of the body, you can see. So this is the condition when body sinks, basically, when the downward force is more as compared to the upward force. So hopefully you have noted this down. Yeah, so here you can come to a conclusion. Force exerted by the body depends upon the weight of the body. Agreed. So weight of the body is also dependent on the weight of the water displaced by the body as per Archimedes principle. So take a note of this quickly. These are important things, ultimately leading to some formulation and then problem solving on buoyancy. Hopefully things are pretty clear till here. Yeah, so what exactly we need to understand out of Archimedes principle? So here is a 5 kg block which is being immersed in the water, and the water is being displaced, and the displaced water is being collected. So whatever is the water displaced, you weigh this water, and the weight of this displaced water will be equal to the buoyant force. So indirectly you are supposed to measure buoyant force like this. So make a note of this slide before we move ahead. Let's move ahead then. Okay. Just give me a minute. Yeah, friends. So here we say weight of the water displaced should be equal to the buoyant force as per Archimedes experimentation. Okay. Hopefully you have noted this down. Okay. This experimentation is important. Okay. Let's move ahead then. Again, there is a question, logical question. Then why ships float on water? Okay. This is a question to be answered. So why ships they float on water? So here you can see the structure of the ship is such that the basal area is kept large, comparatively large, and therefore whatever is the force exerted downward will be comparatively less as compared to buoyant force, and this keeps the ship afloat, basically, you can say. So this is the reason. The slide itself is self-explanatory. So this gives you an idea why ship floats on water. So make a note of this quickly. Very interesting and important thing. The slide itself is making things very clear, so that once the concept is clear, the problem solving will be easier for us. Okay. Hopefully you have noted this down. Let's move ahead. So here you can see it's an explanation given to you why ship floats basically. So the displaced weight of the displaced fluid. When I say buoyant force is more, actually what it indicates the weight of the displaced fluid is greater than the weight of the ship. So if the ship weighs less than the water it displaces, it's bound to float, and that's what we want, right? We want the bigger ships or naval vessels to float. So this is the reason, this is the basic understanding, logical understanding, how you manage larger buoyant force for making the ship to stay afloat, basically. So take a note of this also. Again, these slides are self-explanatory, I'm saying. Okay, hopefully things are clear till here. Let's move ahead then. Yeah, now let's understand if ships float, then some stones they say they sink. So what might be the reason for stones sinking? So exactly opposite. What might happen to the stones? Basically, the downward force will be greater because the basal area is not large at times. So the buoyant force may be comparatively less, which will result in sinking of stone as compared to ships staying afloat basically on the water surface. Okay, so this is the reason why stone sinks. Now there are other factors also which you need to think about. Okay, so the other factors which I'm talking about is the first one out of it is relative density. Now, for understanding relative density, friends, let's see. Let's understand what is density first of all. So we all know density is mass per unit volume. Okay. So density has a unit, and what is the unit basically? If it is mass per unit volume, it is kg per meter cube. Now, what is density telling you? Density tells you the quantity that tells you the amount of matter in a given volume. Say, for example, can see when do we say the material is less dense? when the matter in a given volume comparatively is less. Here you can see the matter is less in 1 meter cube. And here you can see more matter in 1 meter cube. So we can say more density. So less mass results in less density. More mass results in more density, provided the volume is kept constant. So take a note of this slide. Basically, we are trying to understand what relative density is. Okay, hopefully done. Let's move ahead then. Yeah, this diagram also explains when do we say the material is of high density and vice versa, that is low density. Here you can see the slide itself is self-explanatory, explaining you the concept of density and its variation, how it varies and why it varies, what's the reason. So note it down before we move ahead, because we need to understand density first clearly, and then we can define what relative density is. So now when we talk about density, we also talk about in general how compact or heavy it is. So this is how you measure it. These are the units basically, mass per unit volume. We all know this, what density is, right? So let's talk about what is relative density then. The comparison between the densities of different objects. I'm saying. So you have two objects and you are comparing the density of the two objects, then it will be called as relative density. Okay. Now, how do you place it? So here you can see you have two objects A and B, and you are comparing the density between the two of the two. So that comparison is called as relative density. How you define it? So let's understand how you define it. So relative density will be defined as density of substance divided by a reference substance, always considered as water. Earth has majority of water, so always we will come across the reference substance as water only. Right. So let's say take the reference substance as water. So density of water is always taken reference. And that's how you define relative density. It's a ratio of density of substance to density of water. So when you talk about the unit, you can see there is no unit because the units get cancelled in numerator and denominator. So relative density will never have any unit. Okay, remember that. Please make a note of this slide before we move ahead. We start getting into greater details of relative density then. Okay, hopefully you have noted it down. Let's talk about the comparison between density of a ship and density of water. We know. I mean, good drawing over here. Very nice drawing. Just take it out. Okay. Density of ship should be less than density of water. Then only if density of ship is less than density of water, then what can you say about the relative density if you are comparing the density of ship to density of water in terms of relative density difference? So here you can see in this case, if density of substance is greater than density of water, then the relative density is greater than 1. And if relative density is greater than 1, the body will sink. Okay, vice versa. If relative density is less than 1, it indicates the density of substance is less than density of water, and then it will remain afloat, or it will float basically. So relative density is a parameter which will decide whether the body will sink or it will float basically. So if relative density is greater than 1, then definitely we come to a conclusion that the body is going to sink. It's less than 1, you keep it less than 1, then the body will relatively float on the surface of the liquid. So these aspects are considered in marine engineering or shipbuilding exercises also. Please make a note of this before we move ahead. Hopefully things are clear till here. Okay, so relative density, one more parameter which we have studied. Now let's understand what is specific gravity then. Yeah, so specific gravity is somewhat similar to relative density. Okay, and what is it? It's a ratio between density of an object to a reference substance. So time and again we take it as water, but then we can change it. At times you can change the reference substance also. So if it is other than water majoritarily, then instead of relative density, you would be talking in terms of specific gravity. So that's the difference between specific gravity and relative density. So make a note of this. Hopefully you have noted it down. Let's move ahead then. Again, as I said, if the reference is water, then it is similar to relative density. But if the reference is not water, then in general you use the word specific gravity. So one and the same. It has no unit. So because the units in the numerator and denominator will get cancelled off. And therefore, no unit for specific gravity as well. So either you talk in terms of specific gravity at times, or you talk in terms of relative density. So let's before we go across some comprehension, I'll just show you how to work out certain forces. Hopefully, I've noted this down. Okay, you have the basic understanding for the difference between relative density and specific gravity, and what similarity they carry. Let's move ahead then. Yeah, here is a concept where we say a beach ball, okay, with a volume of say 5,000 centimeter cube is pushed under water, and they are expecting what is the magnitude of the buoyant force pushing upward. Density of water in CGS system given to you as 1 gram per centimeter cube. So this is just an idea about how you estimate buoyant force. So let's see how we estimate buoyant force, friends. Okay, let's see. So what is buoyant force as per Archimedes principle? So buoyant force here in this case will be, you can say, equal to the weight of the displaced water. So this much volume of water will displace equal to how much, say for example. So it will be equal to 5,000 gram, which is equal to 5 kg. So let's talk about the force. Force will be m into g. So this is how you work out buoyant force. You are actually working out the weight of the displaced water. So this ball will displace this much volume of water, which will amount to these many grams, converted into kg and multiplied by 9.8. So indirectly you have worked out the buoyant force. Please make a note of this very interesting problem. So from CGS units you have worked out.
I'm gonna stop it.
Yes, Subodh, you can unmute, or you want to speak something, do let us know. But or else, yeah, you can keep your mic muted. Fine, no issues. You take a note of this, then we move ahead towards the next type of problem. Okay, slowly I'll try to increase the level of the problem so that once for all, everybody is very clear about how to work out the problems related to buoyant forces. So today's target discussion is this. Okay, we need to be comfortable with the working of buoyant forces. A very interesting problem. Now, in this problem, they say a cone of radius capital R. You can see the diagram is being displayed on the screen, and height h is hanging inside a liquid of density rho by the means of a string. The force due to the liquid acting on the slant surface of the cone is, so there are 4 options given to you. Now in every option there are some common parameters. You can see here this rho stands for the density of the liquid. H stands for the height, which is being shown in the figure. R stands for the radius at the base for this cone. And what they are expecting from you, the forces acting because of liquid on the slant surface of the cone. So you can see there are some forces which would be acting on the slant surface, and we need to find out. So here all the three things would be utilized. Okay, so let's assume that it's a tricky question being asked where we need to apply the concept of pressure, we need to apply the concept of buoyant force, both, and obviously the weight of the cone, which is m into g in this case, which will be acting vertically downwards. So hopefully you have noted down this question. Okay, so let's see, let's have a discussion about how to deal with this. Anybody who's interested in discussing this in an interactive mode, like how we can go about finding out the force due to the liquid acting on the slant surface of the cone, you can unmute and speak one at a time. Yes, Subodh, want to share your views on how to deal with this problem? Anybody who wants to share, just do
We
speak
find
about
out
it.
the
Yes, Sarah, you want to say something?
we find out the volume of water
Sarah,
displaced.
your mic volume is very less. I'm not able to hear what you're saying.
We find out the volume of the water displaced by the cone,
Okay.
and then that was the first thing that I thought of.
Okay. Okay. That means she's talking about the application of Archimedes principle, which we have studied right now. Anybody who wants to, add to this, so that will lead to the solution of the problem, because you can see this problem, you can consider it as the crux of the situation of, buoyant force. You understand how to deal with this problem, other problems related to buoyant force, they are going to become very easier for you to deal with. Yeah, apart from Sarah, anybody who wants to actually, come up with some sort of discussion. See, I'm going to explain it to you. Don't worry on that part. But then I want your participation. Your participation is appreciated. I would like few people giving their views, comments on how to deal with the solution of the problem, basically. First of all, see, I also add to what Sarah has said. She is talking about application of Archimedes principle for buoyant force. Agreed. But then, first of all, you need to work out the volume of a cone, isn't it? So, because whatever is the volume of the cone, that much volume of the water will be displaced because of that cone. So, how do we work out volume of the cone? Can anybody tell me what is the volume of cone? We have studied it in 10th standard or in 9th standard somewhere there. Volume of regular figures. So cone ka volume. What is the volume of cone? Okay. Hopefully I have noted down the question. Let's move ahead. Yeah. So I'm giving you the thought process over here. You can see what we would do for solving such kind of problems.
1/3 pi r square h.
Yes, Yashraj, you said something.
1/3 pi r square h.
1/3 pi r square h. Correct. Correct. Absolutely correct. So good. I mean, you people are aware of all the basic things, okay, which are needed over here. So how we go about dealing with this kind of question? Say, for example, it's a very, substantial level question which we are handling. Okay, it's not a basic level question. So let's say there are two forces acting on the cone. Okay, which are being shown in the diagram here also. You can see F1, force F1. Are you able to locate F1 over here? You can see. Just a minute. You can see over here. F1 is the force which is acting on the slant. You can see here also. So F1, I will consider it as a force which acts on the slant surface, and it will act downwards, obviously. Because of this liquid, weight of the liquid over here, this force will act vertically downwards. This and this force is same, F1. F1 is the force acting on the slant, and this is something which we need to find out. Let's talk about the second type of force. Second type of force is F2, which is acting on the base but upwards. And then the net buoyant force on the whole cone which is acting upwards. So you can see F2 is the force which is acting at the base, and then the net buoyant force. Now what we are supposed to do, we have to find F1 out of this, the force acting on the slant surface. So the procedural part would be, first we will find out the net buoyant force and F2. So whatever will be the difference between F1 and F2 will be equal to net buoyant force, right? So directly we will find out net buoyant force first, then F2. Now we know net buoyant force and F2. Then from equation, indirectly we can find out the force on the slant edges. Directly you cannot find out the force on the slant edges, okay? That's why this is making this problem very tricky. Okay? But then logically if you go, this problem would be easy. Okay, so this is the procedure which we are going to adopt. So let's adopt this procedure. So while adopting this procedure, the opinions or the suggestions given by Sarah and Yashraj, yeah, they would be applied over here. You can see. Hopefully, I've noted down this procedure so that we move ahead and I can show you how actually we work out the solution to this problem. Chalo, I assume that you have noted down this procedure. Are you able to see the screen, friends? I mean, is the screen visible to you? Atharva, you can unmute and tell me, give me the feedback. Srinidhi, you can also tell me, are you able to see the screen?
Able to see the screen, but there's a lot of distortion in your.
Okay, okay. Because maybe because of the net, basically. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it's visible. Sharyu is saying that. So I believe the things are okay. Maybe because of the net issues. Okay. At times this will happen, but then don't panic. Okay. I will try to set out things. Hopefully, let's move ahead now. So I believe the procedure is noted down. So according to the procedure, we need to find out net buoyant force and the force on the base F2. So finding out force on the base F2, we will make use of the concept of pressure. That pressure is force upon area at the base. So force at the base will be pressure into area. Okay, so that's the idea basically behind it. So please look at it. Okay. So net buoyant force. The first thing which we need to find out is net buoyant force. So what is net buoyant force? So volume, basically it will be given as volume of the cone multiplied by density of the liquid multiplied by G. So ultimately, as per Archimedes principle, this entire thing amounts to the weight of the liquid displaced. So volume of the cone, as per what Yashraj has suggested, 1 by 3 pi r square into h will give you volume. Density of the liquid is rho into G. Okay, so we got net buoyant force. Base of the cone, for that the area would be pi r square. Pressure at the bottom, if h is the height and it is immersed, we know h rho G is the pressure. So we know the area, we know the pressure. So can we find out the force on the base? Yes, so that will be pressure into area. So that is rho GH into pi r square. So now we got the value of F2. We got the value of net buoyant force. Now we will frame the equation to get the value for F1, which was the force acting on the slant. So before we move ahead towards that, please note this down so that we move ahead and I show you how we work out things further. Okay, hopefully you have noted this down. Let's move ahead then. Okay, so in a way, as per our procedure, we have worked out the force F2, that is on the base of the cone, and we have made use of pressure into area ka concept. So we got F2 and net buoyant force. You all know how to work it out as per Archimedes principle. It will be the weight of the liquid displaced, which finally amounts to what? Volume of the object, that is cone over here, multiplied by the density of the liquid which is going to get displaced, that's water over here, and acceleration due to gravity. So in a way, this entire things will amount to, the weight of the liquid displaced, and indirectly you get net buoyant force out of it as per Archimedes principle. So let's move ahead then. Let's try to find out F1, which was the force on the slant. So can I say what is the net buoyant force? The difference between the two forces, F2 and F1. So we have net buoyant force. I'm just substituting the value for net buoyant force. 1/3 pi r square h into rho into g equal to, just now we have calculated the force on the base surface, that is F2, and that was amounting to rho gh into pi r square minus force on the slant is F1. So shuffle everything in terms of F1, and ultimately when you simplify this, you get the force on the slant surface equal to 2/3 rho pi g h r square, and accordingly you can actually mark your options. Very interesting question. Today's discussion was all about buoyancy. So 90% we have discussed the properties of fluid, friends. Just give me a moment.